Everybody to the December 9th, 2020 meeting of the Design Review Panel. We have one project on the agenda, but before we start, I'd like to go over some housekeeping. Members of the panel, you were all sent the meeting minutes from the November 10th meeting. Are there any questions or comments on the minutes? And if they're not, will somebody make a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'm sorry, Don, I couldn't hear you.
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay. Is there a second?
This is Kelly. I second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay. With that, the minutes for the December 9th meeting have been accepted. In the way of an opening statement, just for people who haven't been as part of this panel or attended one in the past, the Design Review Panel was established by the Baltimore County Council. It was established to encourage design excellence, and we act in a consulting and advisory capacity to the agencies involved in reviewing development plans. The objectives of the DRP assessment include spatial, visual, functional relationships in the natural and built environment. In carry out its duties, the DRP utilizes guidelines, plans, and architectural principles in the Comprehensive Manual for Development Policies and/or Master Plan, as well as other guidelines and regulations adopted into law. There are other portions of the design process that are reviewed by other agencies, or things like zoning and traffic that are not part of this process. The panel consists of 9 members. All are not in attendance tonight, but we have a quorum of, I believe, 6 or 7. All are professionals with practical knowledge of the matters of design. For the purpose of making recommendations on the projects, 3 members shall constitute a quorum. At the conclusion of the discussion, the review panel will make a vote, and there may or may not be recommendations subject to approval. With that, I'd like to turn this over to our owner and presenter to talk about the first project and our only project tonight, the project at 720 Frederick Road in Catonsville, the Fishmonger's Daughter.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm Matthew Compton. I'm the architect for the project with Foundry Architects, and I will go through the presentation, talk you through what the plans are for the property. But I do want to start by giving the property owner a chance to tell you a little bit about her family business. They're going to be operating the business here, and maybe a little bit about the history of the building as well. So, Damien, please, you have the floor.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for being here tonight. We're really excited about this project. I'm Damie Hahn, and my family started in the seafood business in Baltimore in 1886. So I'm the 4th generation. My mom is the 5th or 3rd generation. My son, who will be operating this restaurant with me, is the 6th generation. We are West Side people. My family is from Catonsville. My grandmother, my mother, and now my son all reside in Catonsville. And we have been looking for the past, about 10 years for a space that we could extend our brand into a seated restaurant from our existing marketplace and restaurant down in Lexington Market. And we, when we found 720 about a year and a half ago, we really considered it just a perfect place for what the future of Fadley's and what we were thinking about doing. So our plan for the old Heidelbach building, of course, it started in 1926. It was built by John Heidelbach, who was a grocer, you know, not unlike my great grandfather being a fishmonger. Mr. Heidelbach was a butcher, and he started his small grocery store there on Frederick Road in the building next door, actually down the street. And then when he got enough money, about 5 or 6 years later, he built the existing building at 720. He had a bakery in the second floor, and he was at one point the largest German baker in the Baltimore area. And just with our family history and the age of our family business, we have we thought it would be a great place to renovate and extend our family business as a restaurant and an event space. So our plan is on the first floor to have a restaurant, or the second floor to renovate into an event space, and to move our shipping from Lexington Market to the basement area of 720 as a footprint for our shipping business. So that's the short and sweet. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but like I said, we have a history in Catonsville, we have a history in Baltimore, and this is a historic building that we want to preserve, and we want to renovate to take our family business hopefully 100 years forward into the future.
Thank you, Damie. You may go to the next slide. There in the center of the image, you'll see the site outlined in turquoise there. It's about 16,000 square feet, two-story building with a partial basement. And the plan, as Damie said, is to use the first floor as a restaurant, the second floor as an event space, and then portions of the rear of the building, first and second floor, as kitchen to support those spaces. We are zoned BL CCC. We are on Frederick Road, just west of the Ingleside Avenue intersection. We'll get into a little bit of the civil engineering drawings here in a bit, but it's important to talk about here this aerial view. We do not have sufficient on-site parking. We can fit 31 cars on site, and so the owner of this property has also purchased a surface parking lot on the corner of Melrose Avenue and Ingleside, which you can see just to the northeast of the site on the corner there. And there are an additional parking spaces over there, which meets the total parking requirement. We will have on-site valet as well. Next slide, please. A little bit closer view. The property line is outlined in the bold white line there. You can see the site consists of two buildings. The L-shaped is the main commercial building, and attached to that, and actually there's an interior connection to a former residential building, and that building is going to be demolished as part of the renovation of the large commercial space in order to help facilitate on-site circulation by vehicles and to get on-site parking as well. Next slide. These are bird's eye images, are good for context, probably not so great to discuss any great amount of detail, but we can revisit them if we need to. So this is the view looking at the southeast corner overlooking Frederick Road. You can see center of the screen is the main building that is going to be renovated, and just to the left of that, due west, is the residential structure that is going to be demolished. Next slide. This from the southwest corner, more prominent in the view, is the residential building that's going to be demolished. Begin to see the L-shaped structure near the back of the property. One thing that we will be doing to that building is we're proposing to remove the second floor of that building and turn that into an outdoor deck. We'll have more details about that obviously a little later. Next slide. And this is the northwest corner, so Frederick Road is in the background here, and you're looking at sort of the back of our site. There's the residential structure that's going to be removed, and in the foreground is the portion of the second floor that is going to be removed for an outdoor roof deck. Next slide. Final bird's eye view looking at the northeast corner of the building. More of the same, Frederick Road in the distance. And this in the foreground, there is a small, there's an access alley, an easement that will be utilized for some deliveries and trash, which we'll show you a bit later. Next slide. So these are the existing conditions photographs, and you know, we've got some photographs later and some images that will show what we're proposing to do to this building and what we're want it to look like. But it's, I think, sometimes valuable to be looking at the existing conditions when we talk about the things that we want to do with it. So on the right of this image is the existing south facade. This is the main street facade, and we're going to be restoring, cleaning the natural stone facade, maintaining the patinated metal detailing that is around the windows. The second floor windows and the ground floor storefront and the recessed vestibule were replaced, we believe, sometime in the 80s with not very great quality storefront and windows. We will be replacing those with new storefront and windows. We'll be replacing the awnings that are now missing from the building. It was originally, it had two awnings over the large mercantile shop windows. The evidence of that is some remnants of some hardware that is still there. It's between the clear story above and the shop window below. And then on the recessed portion of the south facade, to the left, you can see that is the rear portion of the building, which we were proposing to remove the second floor to make the outdoor roof deck. The two windows on the first floor, which you can see have been boarded up, those will be restored as window openings. The garage door opening will be changed into an internally mounted, the motor will be on the inside garage door, but it won't be solid, it will be metal grating. We are going to be using that portion of the first floor of the building. We're going to be actually driving through the building in order to access the other side for parking and site circulation, which we'll show when we talk about the site plan in a bit. Next slide. This is the west facade. You can see all the way to the far right, that is the residential structure that is going to be demolished. The image on the left shows a kind of center of the screen. We are taking kind of an existing opening and enlarging it, and this is going to be a second means of entrance into the building and egress, primarily to get us to the second floor so that someone coming for an event does not have to walk through the restaurant. And we'll show you some floor plans of this a little later. These windows that you can see are some are in good shape, some are in bad shape. The goal is to restore the windows in place that are operable and in good shape and able to do that. And the ones that are not, we're going to replace in kind with steel windows. You can see also second floor center of the screen, there is a formerly bricked in opening. All previously bricked in openings, with a couple of exceptions, which I will mention here, are going to be restored to windows to match the original steel windows. One thing you'll see here in the left image on the second floor is an odd sort of masonry pattern there. That is fire block. As Damien mentioned, this was a bakery on the second floor, and there is a large industrial oven on the other side of that fire block. And while we are removing a portion of that oven, we're going to retain a bit of it on the interior because it's a very, very, very cool piece. We're going to kind of open it up to show so you can see how the oven actually operated. A portion of it's going to become the back wall of our event space. And we're going to retain this fire block on the exterior of the building just sort of as an artifact of what this building was and did. Next slide. The east facade of the building, You can see the original building to the left with the unpainted masonry. It was added on to several years after its construction with a CMU structure that is now painted CMU. Many of the windows in this rear portion of the building have been removed, infilled with just plywood. Again, those will be restored back to the historic steel windows, with a couple of exceptions, which you can see here on this northeast corner. We will show you on the landscaping plan that this is on the ground floor northeast corners where we're proposing to put the dumpster and dumpster enclosure. And then behind that on the interior are where the walk-ins are going to be. The majority of the walk-ins for the restaurant are going to be on the first and the second floor. So this portion, these couple of windows in the bays, which we'll show you a little later, the windows will not be restored here. The bays will be infilled with masonry to match and will be painted. Next slide. And then this is the north facade of the building. Again, these window openings will be retained for the most part, except for the farthest bay on the left. And then the first two bays in the foreground, that is where the second floor is going to be removed for the outdoor deck. And the second bay from the right, on the ground floor, we're opening that up for a new garage door. And that's going to be, as you come out of the building, you saw the entrance through the building previously. This is where you're going to exit into this back alley and continue driving on our site circulation to parking. Next image. This is just some adjacent or immediate neighbors for context if we need to go back to that. Next image. Site plans, these are always better viewed in person than on these screens because they can be quite small. The one detail that I do want to point out is the kind of enlarged parking plan that's in the center top of this image. It shows our parking count, which I believe is 31 spaces on site, and then the surface parking lot on the corner of Melrose and Ingleside with an additional 49 parking spaces there. We are changing the traffic flow, and it's probably best if we go on to the next slide to talk about that, I think. Landscaping plan. So currently, the building is the darker gray square in the center of the image. Currently, the site is accessed via the curb cut to the east of the building. We are changing the circulation so that you enter the site to the west of the building with a new curb cut in the location that the residential structure is being demolished. There is parking on the west side of the building. You would continue through the first floor and then around the building with additional parking on the east side, and you would exit onto Frederick Road on the east side of our building. One thing to note here is you can see on the west side of the building and the east, we have just sort of barely enough room between our exterior wall and the property line to fit parking and a drive aisle with adequate access to get in and out. So green space here is, our opportunities to provide green space are limited, but wherever we can, we've identified those places. You can see on the south, in front of Frederick Road, we found a little pocket of green space between Frederick Road and our first parking space there. It kind of matches the neighbor has some green space there, and we're going to basically propose extending that. Just opposite of that entrance drive, there's another little opportunity for some green space there. We're going to take advantage of that. Right there, as Marta's showing on the east side of the building, between the last parking space and as you exit onto Frederick Road, there's a little bit of a green space there. That's also where we're showing some bike racks. And then the owner is an avid gardener and really likes greenery and plantings. And so we're showing many, many above ground planters along Frederick Road, and then also lining the roof deck on the second floor, which we've kind of peeled away the roof here so that you can see an image of what that looks like. On the northeast corner of the building, you can see we've got trash and recycling that will be enclosed in a painted wood enclosure with doors. And we have confirmed that it is located in the position in which it can be obtained by a trash truck to get in and out. We don't have many of those locations on this site, but that is one that we can make it work. Next image. Briefly on the floor plan, just to give you an idea of kind of what we're doing. On the right side is the first floor plan. And at this scale, it doesn't show very well the colors, but there's a light blue color shaded on all of the public spaces and a light gray shading on all of the kitchen and back of house spaces. So you enter in off of Frederick Road into the dining room. There's a host stand where you can be greeted. It will have an open kitchen along the east side of the first floor and an open dining room. Kind of in the middle of the space, taking advantage of an existing what was an existing refrigerated, kind of masonry refrigerated space, is we're going to have a raw bar, kind of open raw bar with oyster shucking. Then to the north of that, heading towards the back of the building, the furthest north public space are restrooms for the first floor. And then in between the dining room on the first floor and the restrooms on the first floor is this sort of secondary entrance vestibule from the west, where if someone was coming to go to an event space, they would come in through the west entrance, go up the elevator or stair to the second floor. The floor plan of that is on the left. And it's mostly one big large open room with kind of a small bridal suite and further restrooms up there, and then a kitchen that serves the event space and the roof deck, which you can see to the northwest corner. 3 means of egress out of this second floor are going to be required to our occupancy. And next slide, please. So here's going around the facades. You can see the existing facade below, proposed facade above, really retaining on the main facade all the elements that are already there, cleaning them up, restoring them, repairing them, replacing the awnings, just generally making it look, bringing the building back up to its original sort of very, very, very fine condition. We're showing signage there. We're proposing an internally lit sign hanging off of the corner of the building, the southeast corner of the building. We have new pin-mounted letters from the old Fadley's location that have been in storage that we're going to bring back. They're very nice gold leaf lettering that will be attached to the facade. And then very low profile kind of LED uplights just to light kind of the signage there. We're not proposing to cast giant spotlights all over this facade. We don't think it's necessary with the ambient lighting that is going to be on Frederick Road. And then in the rear, you can see the recessed portion of the south facade. You can see what is being proposed for the roof deck, overhead string lights, being surrounded by steel and cable guardrail. That is set back from the roof edge. I believe it'll be at least 6 feet by the time we place that guardrail. So we're not coming all the way out to the roof edge. We are setting that back, which allows us an area for planters and then an area to actually access those planters. So we are thinking very much about this rooftop deck as kind of an outdoor room, and we think it'll be very nice. You can see the new garage door with a metal grate instead of a solid metal door, and then some painted signage on that masonry facade, just indicating a little bit, giving a little indication of what's happening up there, which is the rooftop deck. Next image. This is the west facade, and sort of the main thing to know about this west facade is we dashed in the residential structure that is next door to us and attached to our building. We do not know what the condition of that masonry is going to be once that building comes down. We can't see it. It's been covered over with layers of plaster and wallpaper for who knows how long. Right now, we are proposing that we get approved for everything that we know. And then once that building comes down and we see the condition of that west facade If we want to do anything other than just keep it as its masonry facade, then we would come back to you with another proposal if that's what we wish. But we just don't know enough about the condition of that wall to know what it's going to be like right now. About halfway back on the west facade, you can see the new entrance that is proposed to be a steel and glass storefront. We've got some dimensions for that a little bit later in the set. We also, understanding, budget and steel and glass can be an expensive storefront system. We also would like to be approved for an alternate of aluminum storefront if that fits better with our budget. But again, same low profile black finish on that aluminum storefront. That's got a small steel canopy over that entrance on the west facade as well. And then you can see another view of that roof deck above. Next slide. This is our north facade. You can see another good view of removing a portion of that second floor for our roof deck. There is the garage door allowing cars to pass through the first floor of the building. This is the portion of the building that is already painted CMU, and so we're going to be proposing to paint this. We have a color palette that goes along with the branding package for this business, and we're using colors for that color palette. We'll certainly share those Pantone swatches with you as well. And then some signage also on this north facade, which we've got some enlarged images a little bit later. And then there you can see in that the bay furthest to the left of this north facade where the windows currently are boarded, window openings are currently boarded up. We're proposing to infill those with masonry to match in kind and paint over those because again, this building is surrounded by windows and we need space for some refrigeration, a lot of refrigeration. And so that's where our refrigeration is in the first and second floor in this building, all the way in the back. Next image. And then here is our east facade. And more of the same, replacing the windows in kind. You can see many of the openings have been boarded up. Some of them have actually been, you can see kind of near on the first floor, the first two openings in the CMU portion of the building. The sill has been raised on those windows. And again, we're proposing anywhere where we find conditions like that, we're going to take the openings back to their original size and replace them with windows to match the historic windows in kind. And then also on the far right of the east elevation, you can see the painted wood dumpster enclosure. Next image. Storefront, again, proposing thermally broken steel and glass storefront system, black finish. All the glazing will be low E clear tempered with an alternate material of aluminum, depending on what works with our budget. Next image. Here are just some examples of some finishes and things that we're thinking about, beginning on the upper left with the lighting for the signage. Again, very low profile LED lighting that will just kind of uplight the pin letters and then also the painted signage on the north facade. Below that, we're showing wall packs for the site lighting, and those will be mounted high on the facades, and they are shown on those rendered elevations. Apologies, I didn't point them out when we were there. It's a larger version of this exact fixture. I couldn't find a picture of the larger version of it, but it looks very similar to that. Again, very low profile, full cutoff, not trying to wash the walls with light, just trying to put sufficient light on the surface. The roof deck lit with string lights overhead. We are proposing a gas fireplace on the roof deck, and that would be surrounded and finished off with salvaged brick from the project. And then there's overhead door with a metal grill and then steel and cable railings. Next slide, and I think the last slide. Just some of the images of the proposed signage and sizing, and we did review these with the county's signage guideline, and we believe that they comply. And that's all that I have.
Great, thank you very much for a comprehensive presentation. Marta, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
No, John, we don't have anyone to sign up to speak. We just received an email which was forwarded to all of the DRP members prior to the meeting. And
Okay.
this email is from Gary Dobbs, citizen of Catonsville, and this email is in regard concerning parking spaces in the Catonsville area. And I believe everyone from DRP received that email.
Okay. Marta, do you want to review the staff report?
Sure. Thank you, John. So we prepared our staff report based on, everyone can hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So we prepared our staff report based on comprehensive manual of development policies, the Catonsville plan, and Baltimore County landscape manual. In regards to site design, staff recommends approval of the site design. In regards to form and image, staff recommends approval of form and image. In regards to open space and landscape design, staff recommends approval of open space and landscape design subject to the following conditions. Number one, study the ability to provide green walls on the west facade. Number two, provide benches along Frederick Road. Number three, consider using native and adaptive plants. Provide a list of proposed plants on the landscape plan. And number four, clarify if the retaining wall in the rear of the subject property is existing or newly constructed. Provide materials for it if repaired or newly constructed. In regards to street parking and circulation, staff recommends approval of street parking and circulation subject to the following conditions. Clearly demonstrate on the plan how pedestrians will access the building when utilizing off-site parking. In regards to signage and lighting, staff recommends approval of signage and lighting subject to the following conditions. Number one, label on the plan the location of the entrance only and exit only signs. Number two, ensure that the painted signage entrance only and exit only will be eliminated. In regards to architectural design, staff recommends approval of architectural design subject to the following conditions. Number one, provide a drawing to show the wall that faces the rooftop deck. Indicate the materials and colors to be used. Number two, provide a drawing to show the transition between the brick wall and the painted CMUs on the east elevation on page 19. Number three, provide details for the window openings that were boarded up and will receive new steel windows. The new windows should match the style of the existing windows. Number four, verify the materials used for the gas fireplace around the floor of the rooftop deck and the vestibule at the west facade entrance. Number five, provide details for the awnings installed on the front facade. Number six, provide color palettes to be used to paint the building's facade. And number seven, correct the north elevation on page 18 of the submittal to accurately reflect upper portions of the building. And that's all for the report.
Okay, thank you, Marta.
Thank you, John.
With that, let's begin the discussion from the panel. Today, Joseph, I'm going to start with you, Joseph Yusufero.
I am here. Good evening, everyone. So let me start by agreeing with Chairman Demena that I thought the presentation was very complete. So well done, and thank you, Amy, for the history. Very nice to hear. I just have a couple kind of clarifying questions, if I could. So number one, you're creating this tunnel or bridge scenario, right, with the second floor overhang. My question is, what kind of vehicles do you expect would drive under the overhang? And thank you, Marta, for getting to this plan. It feels quite narrow and it feels quite small. I'm just curious what kind of vehicles you anticipate.
Do you want me to address that?
Sure, go ahead, Amy.
Okay. The opening currently, we can fit trucks through. That was built as Mr. Heidelbach's delivery entrance. He had, in 1929, built that back end of the building, excuse me, to house his fleet of trucks, his delivery trucks. He realized shortly after he built the grocery store that he didn't have enough parking in Catonsville for the grocery store and started a delivery service. So he had a fleet of trucks, and you can easily drive a vehicle in there. What we're doing is lowering the topography so that we can have the equal access out. I drive my van in there. I've driven my truck in there. So anything up to the size of maybe a UPS truck will be able to fit through, not two-way traffic, but one-way traffic through there. And we'll be able to use the loading dock that was there. There was a loading dock there. So we'll be able to load and unload. Now, larger vehicles will have to come in another from the rear access and not underneath of there. But I think pretty much all, normal trucks and cars will be able to use that that drive-through. What do you think, Matt?
The opening is roughly like a little over 13 feet by 15 feet wide. It's pretty large. If we go to Marta, if you wanted to go to the image 8, slide 8, we show the actual. Yeah, so it's a fairly sizable opening, and we have our civil engineer has checked turning radiuses and all that, and vehicles can actually get through there, make that turn heading east out.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, much appreciated. So my next and final question is related to the opening and the, for lack of a better term, garage doors that would be on each side. What do you envision and when do you envision closing those? Because my concern would be if they're closed often, then customers would drive in and not have a place to leave, right? So could you speak to that?
Yeah, I plan on not closing them until the restaurant is empty.
Okay.
We're planning on. I'm not sure how aware you are of this, but there's some transient people in the Catonsville area that seem to be finding places to sleep even now in our vestibule, in the side entrance, in the existing building that we're taking down. We want to make sure for safety reasons that we're able to close that off at night once we lock the doors for the restaurant.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much. They were my two comments, but nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joseph. Matt Renault.
Yep, I agree with the staff report. I think adding the seating out on Frederick Road, I think would be an important aspect, especially if you have a busy restaurant and people are waiting. So I think that's a good comment. I think with the open-ended kind of nature of the structure coming down on that west facade, I think the county staff report talks about maybe a green wall treatment there. I think that might be something that could warm up that space. And then my last comment, Joe, you hit on it too. I was wondering about the closure of that gate element. I'm still a little worried, even if it's closed and the restaurant's not open, people still might find their way in there, and then you've got it kind of striped for one way. So just it's just somebody might just need to look at that. I think you've got an 18-foot wide kind of opening there, but you may end up with people coming back out the entrance. So it's just something to consider there. But those are my minor comments. But otherwise, I think the project looks fantastic.
Okay.
We can also, Matt, if need be, chain off the entrance so that people could not do that. You know, there's from the building to maybe a pole, so that people wouldn't be able to pull in and get caught after we're closed or before we're open.
Yeah, I think it's just something to consider. I think you might want some of the teaser parking still there, but I think it's just something to think about as you move forward.
Kelly Ennis.
Hi, I agree with the thorough nature of not only the staff report, but the presentation. It was very comprehensive, so I think it was really well done. I have one question, which is regards to the lighting on the east side of the building between pages 10 and 19. You show some exterior lighting on page existing exterior lighting there on page 10, and I'm just not sure how that's being reconciled on page 19. It's a clarifying question. It's not swaying my opinion of approval or not. I think it's a fantastic package,
Sure.
but I would just ask that there's consideration. It's a very long building, and I just don't see any lighting from a parking scenario. So if I'm parking there,
So at the parapet at the top of the wall, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wall packs there.
Got it. Okay.
And that was my fault. I did not point those out when we went through that, so I'm sorry about that.
Okay, answered my question. Looks great. Fantastic package.
Okay. So for our next, Julie Sauce, do you have any comments?
I have one comment, like the rest of everyone. It looks great. I'm a resident of Catonsville. I walk past there almost every day with my dog, so I can't wait for it to be improved. But my question was for the parking, the existing parking lot that was purchased. Is that exempt from the landscape requirements because it's existing, or will it have to be brought up to code because it was recently purchased as a change of ownership? And also across Melrose, I think it's Melrose Street, there's another parking lot that's owned by the same ownership as the plaza. Have you looked into that for overflow parking?
I'm not sure what you're talking about on Melrose, which parking lot that is.
Maybe slide 2, Marta.
I think it's the one behind social services to the north of the property. Yeah,
That one's owned by the Booth Properties.
okay. So there's no way to make a deal with them because that lot's hardly ever full. And I just know that parking is a premium in Catonsville, so just trying to alleviate the headaches.
That's a zoning issue. We're hoping to be able to use some other parking lots around for events, and then utilize the parking lots that we own, the one at Ingleside that's labeled M&T, and the one and the parking on site for us, for Fadley's.
Okay.
Those other spaces are easily used for anybody because they're not full all the time. But there are some zoning issues with them double using spaces. Not that people won't be able to use them, but for assignment of those spaces.
Okay, but do you have an exemption for not fulfilling the parking lot green space requirements for that existing M&T parking lot?
We were never told in the purchase that we had to change any green space for that. It's completely blacktop as it is now.
Okay,
So Julie, my understanding is if they if there's no alterations made to that parking lot, I'm not sure the county can compel them to make landscape improvements. Maybe planning staff can proffer a thought on that.
Okay, I just didn't know if the change of ownership would throw it into bringing it up to standards.
That is not typically what happens. What happens is if you're actually altering it, then you have to bring it up to standards. It's no different. If this particular owner was moving into this building and wasn't touching it, they wouldn't need a permit.
That's our understanding as well.
Okay, thank you.
Donald Kahn.
Thank you. I agree with the staff report, and overall, I think it's a very good presentation. I do have some questions. Is there the history of the building that you're taking down? Do you know anything more about the timing of that? It was built subsequent to the historic building, I trust.
Subsequent to,
The building
I'm sorry,
building that you're renovating.
the building that we're renovating was built in 1926.
All right. The adjacent building was built when? Do you know?
The originally as a residence, I believe, 1901, somewhere between 1901 and 1907.
Okay. And there's been no pushback about taking that building down, I gather.
Actually, the county asked me to take it down when we were discussing purchasing it.
Okay. Have you explored using historic tax credits for your development, since you're making a pretty sincere effort to save so much of it?
We will be looking into that, yes.
Because I think the question then comes up about replacing existing steel windows and storefronts with other materials. You'd have to be careful about that for the tax credits. But yeah, I would encourage you to pursue that. It may allow you to do a lot more things with the money you have with 20% tax credit. But overall, I think I wish you good luck. I think it's a great project.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Donald. I think our last panel, Hayon Ra, do you have any comments?
Hello. Could you hear me?
We can.
Okay, I might even try the camera now. Okay. Good evening. Thank you for the presentation. I do agree with the report, and it was a well thought out package. I do have a couple questions. One is on the open space and the landscape portion. Stormwater management specifically, because this site is not on the FEMA flood risk zone or the county's flood risk zone or anything like that. However, I think it was May 2018, there was a big flood event in this area particularly, and a business just, I think a block away from that or so, Jennings Cafe, was pretty severely flooded, as well as some other properties in the area. And the root cause of it has not been addressed. It's the overloaded sewage and stormwater drainage system in the area. So this remains unresolved, and so the risk still exists. And I haven't really seen anything from your proposal this point being addressed at all. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention, because you don't want this property to be flooded by any means. And it seems that even with all the paved surfaces, there are opportunities like using pervious materials, or maybe increasing the green spaces where you can, to mitigate some of the risks, especially around the openings and the entrance areas. So that was one comment that I had, and also wanted to see if it's something that you had thought about.
Yeah, it's definitely something we're going to be addressing.
Okay, great. Another one is sort of linking back to the historic tax credits that panel member Khan just mentioned. I think it has, there are opportunities to pay for or subsidize support energy efficiency measures. And one thing that I noticed just looking at the site map is how dark the roof is. And since you're already doing a little bit of the roof work, I was just wondering if cooling roof or just painting the roof white so that you could potentially save some cost on the cooling. And, you know, heat island effect is a real concern in Baltimore County. So that was just a suggestion that I had. And I believe historic tax credits might cover that part as well, as it's considered an energy efficiency measure.
We are performing a roof replacement, and that is definitely something that we'll be doing. And then also we're going to that'll give us an opportunity to insulate the roof as well, which is currently uninsulated.
Yeah, if it's EPDM, which I believe it might be, they have a white EPDM that you can just purchase and use. So, okay. Yeah, but yeah, thank you for this. It was a great presentation, and I'm really heartened by the history of it. And good luck.
Okay, thank you for your comments. So as chairman, I have no comments that the rest of you haven't already covered, so I'm not going to repeat myself. I did note as each speaker spoke, I sensed a strong consensus that the recommendations made in the planning staff report that the panel was in agreement with. And I think I'm going to be asking for a motion to move on this project, but I think that motion should include, you know, accepting the staff planning comments as part of our approval process. And in looking at the comments that various people made, I'm not sure, I'm really not sure there was a single comment in there that would be necessarily part of a motion. It was, most of them were really more discussion or asking them to, you know, think about. How does the panel feel about my observation in terms of, as part of our thing, just doing a blanket as a board of any approval we do as the conditions to include the recommendations made by staff?
I agree with that, John.
Chairman Domenico, I agree with that as well.
Okay, it would greatly simplify our motion.
John, and I'm very sorry. We received one last minute question from the citizen. Can I read that question, please?
You know, Mark, are they on the call?
They're not on the call, but they wrote the comment.
Well, I know, but I guess, and this is a procedure matter we're going to have to talk about, because I know in other panels that the county has, you know, people need to be present to make their comments. You know, otherwise it never ends. So is there an official staff position? I mean, normally if the meeting's in public, the person has to attend. If they choose not to attend, do we have to even read the comment?
We have that option to provide written comment through chat during public comment period, but I just wanted to ask if that's appropriate to read that one question since the public comment period passed. Jeff, Pete.
John, this is Pete. The person is in attendance in all legal forms. They're here. They're in the meeting. They've raised their hand. They've chatted. Okay. They put their comment in the chat box. It's up to you as to whether or not you want to accept any further testimony. You opened it up for public hearing. You closed it for public hearing. You don't have to, but it's up to you if you wish to hear further testimony. It's usually a good idea. I'm just saying.
No, that's fine. I just, okay, Marta, go ahead.
So this question is from Boo. He just wrote that he's on the parking behind social services, and he would like to address, he's asking who will monitor customers or employees parking there.
We plan on monitoring that ourselves and working with our neighbors there. So we plan on the busier nights actually using valet to our lot that we purchased. So between the circulating parking on our site and the second lot that we purchased, we plan on monitoring the parking.
Marta, can you unmute Mr. Booth? I think he's raising his hand. He's got a question mark. It might be wise to let him speak and ask the question. So
I see he has the question up there. Yes, I am working with Brezzy. He's a gem.
I'm trying to unmute him. Just give me a second, please. Sorry. Tom, can you tell me that?
Hi, yes, thank you. I think my question was answered. Right now with 818 Market opening, we're getting employees parking all in our Catonsville Square lot. And it's becoming a nightmare where we're starting to have to tow people. We do not want to have that same problem. And we let the customers slide. They're generally in and out in a quick time. But when you have an employee parking there for 6 to 8 hours and you can't turn those spaces over, you know, it not only kills the lot, but it kills all our surrounding tenants. I'm hoping we don't have that same problem with parking A in Catonsville Square and B behind social services. Even though the lot's not full all the time, you know, it is rented. So I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware of that moving forward, because Catonsville parking is a nightmare.
I agree with you, Tom, and which is one of the reasons why it was imperative for us to pick up that extra lot. And we will be working closely with Bruz on how to make sure that, because I know that employees of Catonsville Square are parking in the M&T lot right now. So we're going to have to be addressing that and working together to make sure that this works for all of us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, does anyone want to make a motion on this project?
I will. This is Joe Yusufero. So I'm moved to approve the project, conditioned upon the Department of Planning staff comments identified in their staff report.
Second.
Okay. Is there, Donald, I'm sorry, was that you making a second?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Is there any discussion among the panelists? With no other comments, let's call a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, with that, project has been approved, subject to compliance with the staff reports. They will be issuing minutes for this meeting. On behalf of the panel, I want to thank our presenters for a really nice presentation. Makes our job a lot easier. And with that, this meeting is concluded. Wish everybody a happy holidays.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Holidays. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all and wishing happy holidays.